First, you're going to want to download VirtualBox since you have to TAS Undertale in Linux. So just download it for Windows hosts. This is a regular installer, so just install it on your system. Next, we're going to need an operating system, a Linux operating system. I'm using Q4 OS from OS Boxes here, just because of the small download size and because it works. Over here you can see the default username and password for this Linux system. So yeah, just download it. And you will get a zip file, or a 7z archive rather. So you're going to need to open it with 7zip or WinRAR, which you can download there. Anyway, once you have it, you'll get this file, which is a VDI file. You're going to want to extract this to somewhere. I recommend putting it in documents or something. I'm going to put it in downloads here. Next, open VirtualBox, then go to New, name your operating system. I'm just going to name it Tutorial. Set the type and version. So this right here is Linux Debian 64-bit. Hit Next. And here, the amount of RAM you want the OS to have. I'm going to give it 4 gigabytes. Less should also work though. It depends on how much RAM you have. Next, here you want to select the hard disk file we just downloaded. So go to Add, then select it, and hit Choose here, and then Create. Now you're going to want to go into Display Options on your virtual machine and set Graphics Controller to VBox VGA, so allow the window to resize properly. Next, boot up your operating system and type in the password. The default one is osboxes.org. Auto login to automatically log in, obviously. I'm also just going to move the taskbar to the top of the screen. To the terminal on the desktop, because we'll need those a lot. Now open terminal and type sudo apt update and sudo apt upgrade. This is something you should always do when installing a Linux virtual machine, because most of the packages will be out of date. In the middle of it, you might run into this, some kind of grub thing. Just press enter twice to just select the default options. Now it's done. So type in sudo apt install, and then these packages that I'll have this command in the description. These are the requirements to install VirtualBoxGuestAdditions, which we'll need for shared folders and shared clipboard. Now we're back. Here you want to go to Devices menu and then insert Guest Addition CD. Then it'll show up here. Open it with File Manager to mount the CD. Then back in Terminal, you're going to want to run the VBoxLinuxAdditions.run. So open a terminal in that folder and type sudo sh and then the VBoxLinuxAdditions.run. This will take a while. Afterwards, reboot the system. And it might already work. For me, it doesn't immediately work. This is the test. You want to type lsmod pipe grep vbox, and next to vboxguest, it should have those two numbers, and then vboxsf. There's no vboxsf, so that means it didn't work. Another thing you can do to test this is type sudo modprobe vboxsf. If it gives an error, then it also didn't work. So to fix this, you want to do sudo /opt/the VBoxGuestAdditions, just press tab to autocomplete, /init /vboxadd space setup. This will take a while again. Afterwards, reboot the Linux operating system. We're back. Now when we do the test, it should work. Which it does. You can see it says vboxguest, then two numbers, then vboxsf. The other test also works. Sudo modprobe vboxsf. As you can see, this returns no errors. That means GuestAdditions work successfully. Now we need to get a Linux version of Undertale. There's multiple ways to do this. One is to just get it from Steam inside the virtual machine. The other way is via Windows, via the old method of getting 1.001 Linux with the download depot. For 1.08 Linux or 1.05 Linux, there's probably also a download depot. Although I don't know the number for that one, just ask in the Undertale Discord. Somebody probably knows. For version 1.0, there is actually no Linux version of this officially, but there's a way to get it unofficially, which I'll be showing you now. First, you want to make a copy of the Undertale folder, the 1.01, and then also make a new folder. I'm going to name it Undertale Linux, and this will be the folder where you put Linux Undertale in of 1.0. In this folder, create another folder called Assets. Then, in the Undertale Linux folder, put in the data.win and rename it to game.unix. Then you're going to want to delete Undertale.exe and data.win from the Undertale copy you made, and then just move everything else into the assets folder. I don't think you technically need those DLLs, those extra ones, but it doesn't hurt. Anyways, the last thing we need is the runner, which you can get from a different game called Forest of Elements, the Linux version. That version of the runner is compatible with Undertale 1.0, so that's the way we're going to get this. So yeah, download the Linux version, which will get you a zip file, and from this one take out the runner and put it in your Undertale Linux folder. And this is Linux Undertale 1.0 setup, which I'll be using in this tutorial. Now back in the virtual machine, go ahead and enable shared clipboard. You can either do host to guest or bidirectional, it doesn't really matter. Shared folders, go into shared folders settings, I already have this set up for some reason, but I will show it to you again. Click the little plus icon. Then for folder path, navigate to your Undertale Linux folder. Mine is on the desktop. Yeah, right there. Click select folder. Then here you want to enable auto mount and make permanent. And then for the mount point, type in the path where you want this folder to be on your Linux system. So I'm going to put it in the home folder, and then inside a folder called UT for Undertale. Now you can see it's there, but we can't actually access it because we don't have permission. The way we get permission is by typing sudo usermod -a capital G vboxsf and then your own username. Here it's always boxes, but with this whoami command you can easily get it too. After this, we're going to have to reboot the system one last time. Anyway, we're back. Now you can see the Undertale folder, the shared one, works. So now we're going to install the dependencies for Undertale and libTAS. First, we need to add the architecture i386 with this command. This allows you to install 32-bit libraries. And then we're also going to add a source to our sources.list because one of the packages required for Undertale is no longer available in the default repositories, so we need to add it. So go to sudo nano /etc apt sources.list, which is this file, and then paste in this, which I'll have in the description. And then run sudo apt update. Next, paste in this long-ass command. You can find this in the technical talk channel. If you want to run 1.0, you're also going to have to add this package libsw-resample3:i386 and press enter to install this. Okay, this is installed. Now when you do /ut/runner, this will open, or rather execute, the Undertale runner file. As you can see, it worked. And now we are ready to install libTAS. So go ahead and download libTAS. You can get it from here. And then it'll be this deb file. Just put it in your shared folder. Makes this very easy. Then back in the VM, do sudo dpkg -i and then the libTAS deb file. That installs very quickly. And now, as you can see, when we type libTAS, it opens, which is nice. In the game executable field, you want to navigate to the Undertale runner. And in order to get Undertale running, you can go to runtime, time tracking, clock at time. This is required to make Undertale run. And then hit start. Go ahead and deselect pause and hit start. Undertale should run inside of libTAS. As you can see, it is, and the button inputs are being registered in the bottom left corner of the Undertale window. As you can see, that's like mouse input. which we actually don't need. We'll disable that later. Next, we're going to change a few options inside libTAS, one of which is auto restart game. This allows you to restart the game while tasing, useful for file loads and things. Set right here is the input editor. We will use this later. For now, I'll just leave it here for a sec. Then under video, enable variable frame rate, and an OSD, which stands for on-screen display. You can enable OSD on video encode if you want. What that simply does is put things like the input display and the frame count and basically everything that you'd see in the window of Undertale inside libTAS. It will put it on the encoded video afterwards too. So it's up to you if you want to enable this or not. I will enable it because I like this feature. Next, in runtime, I recommend enabling store save states in RAM, especially if you don't have an SSD, because this makes loading save states significantly faster. Next, fast forward mode, skip all rendering. This makes fast forward mode even faster. And then configure encode. Change the frame rate to 30, because Undertale only runs at 30 FPS. And change the audio codec to PCM signed 16-bit little endian. Next, in input, we can disable mouse support. Undertale doesn't need a mouse. And for input mapping, here you can change your TASing hotkeys. So I'm going to change the play pause to fast forward and enable the toggle read write mode one. And the other ones are fine in my opinion. You can set these keys however you like, of course. Then also change the frame rate down here to 30. Now Undertale runs at 30 FPS. And we are basically ready to begin tasing. So go ahead and enable movie recording. Select pause here, and then click start. The first thing we're going to do is put all the inputs we're going to need into the input editor. So the way we do this is you press the input on the keyboard, or many at a time, and then frame advance the game. So I'm going to do Z and up and right, and then press V to frame advance, which, as you can see, puts those keys onto the input editor. I'm going to do this with the other keys too, and I will be back once I've added them all. X and C don't work for whatever reason, so instead you have to use the other shift key and the other control key. So I will add those right now since I am using 1.0 in this task. Okay, there they are. And I'll just move them to the left. Alright. Now we have all the keys we need. So just continue the task. Just press spacebar to play. And now you can press V to frame advance. Right now this is the Undertale logo. So you can press Z to go to the next screen. Here we have the name select screen, or the main menu. So I don't actually know the most optimal inputs to select a name here, because I've only done early punch card tasks where you just continue from the menu. But yeah, looks like we now have a name. and you can just hold right, and as you can see, it's recording inputs, and we are moving in the game. So just go ahead and click stop, save the movie, and if you click start, as you'll be able to see, all your inputs will play back with no desyncs. Now, one interesting, or actually kind of annoying thing, is that if you make a save state before entering the actual game, or in the intro screen, it won't actually work properly. As you can see, right now if I try to load state 5, see it doesn't work, it just gets stuck, and there's an error. So yeah, don't make save states before you enter the actual game. But as you can see later, if I go a little further into the task, make another save state, I can load these as much as I want. It works every time. So don't worry. The save state issue, as far as I can tell, is only in the beginning. Now I'll show you variable frame rate. What you want to do is change the numerator to 60 and the denominator to 1. As you can see, this adds a red frame in here. This is sort of like a lag frame, and what this allows you to do is to press right and release it on the same frame, and then press it again on the next frame. So you see those two right inputs on the bottom? Those will be registered as one right input that takes 2 frames. But if you do it with variable frame rate like this, or well, like this actually, with a lag frame in between the 2 right inputs, then those 2 right inputs will get registered individually, and the game will register 2 right inputs. At the bottom one, it will only register 1. So this is useful for menuing very quickly, because you can press the arrow keys on consecutive frames and have them count individually. The last thing I'm going to show you in this tutorial is the save files for Undertale. First, you're going to need to enable hidden files. The save files are inside config and then Undertale. This is where your save files will be. Now, since we're TASing, they don't actually get saved here, since we have this option prevent writing to disk enabled right there. But however, if you restart the game inside the TAS, then it will in fact save the save files to this folder. So if your TAS restarts anywhere inside of it, if Undertale restarts, then every time you start the task from the beginning, you will have to delete the save files from here. Also, this folder is the place where if you're doing something like early punch card and you start with a save file, you put it in here and it will work in libTAS. So all that should be enough to get you started. Thank you for watching.